Hello, and welcome back to another reading of the White Album 2 light novel series. We are currently reading through Volume 1. Continuing on, we are just before the festival, 2 days in fact. Setsuna got horrible stage fright trying to do the final rehearsal with only Takea. Also, Haruki hasn't picked up his phone in like 24 hours, which is not really cool because he's ignoring Setsuna and keeps forgetting to message her, even though he just promised her that he would never leave her alone again. So everything's compiling into a bunch more drama. He's still with Touma. Let's see how things play out. Haruki's peace. 37.6 degrees. All right. Looking at the thermometer after dinner, Touma tightened her hand into a fist. Sweet. Look, Kitahara. I'm better now. Your temperature has gone down. That doesn't mean you're better. Always gotta get caught up in details. Touma huffed, throwing me a glance. Yes, she was headed toward convalescence, as she had said, but we couldn't get careless. Keep resting. And make sure you thank Shibata-san later. She's been worrying about you this whole time. I know. Shibata-san had prepared all sorts of easy-to-eat foods for Touma. Rice porridge with egg, soft-cooked beans, grated apple, and even made sautéed chicken for me. I don't know whether she believed that Touma and I were just friends, but she was very kind. What a kind housekeeper, especially making Haruki a separate dish. That's very sweet. She said she was glad to finally get to cook for you again, like she used to. And because she was so kind, she wound up telling me a good bit more than was probably necessary. Hey, she told me she would come here every day and make your meals and everything. And it had always been that way, like your whole life. But something changed when you started living on your own, right? She said you cut off all the people who used to come here. Not just her, but your piano teacher, the person who would come here to look at the instruments. So? Sorry. Never mind. You're free to live however you want to live. Touma went silent for a few moments, then said, I'm going to sleep. All right. Poor girl. I mean, it's hard. That's a lifestyle shift that's traumatizing. Your mom leaves you, and then all you have are these not strangers necessarily, but these people who aren't family in your life. And it just feels like hired helpers. And you don't want that. You're craving the genuine love and care. Even if these people do genuinely love and care you, like Shibata-san, it's hard to see that as a kid. And so, yeah, you're going to push them away. You're just going to be like, all right, well, I have myself. That's all I need. It's really sad. Her eyes had been open the entire time since we had come down into the basement. I had no reason to stop her. I watched her quietly as she slipped into her futon. All right, good night. Let me know if the guitar is too loud. I'll change out your ice pillow later. Call me for anything you need. If I'm asleep, you can knock me awake. I'm serious. Tell me. All right. Pushy. I won't be able to help if you don't tell me, okay? Okay. Can I tell you something? Something you need? Sure. I was certain that Touma was about to tell me she was in pain somehow, or otherwise feeling unwell, but instead, I was thinking about quitting the piano. Huh? Her eyes were fixed on me as she lay there. I was thinking about quitting being her daughter. Oh, Touma, this is so sad. God, this is so sad. It's so hard having your favorite hobby. Let's say Toma's favorite hobby is playing the piano. Now the mom that abandoned you, her favorite thing is being a pianist as well. And it's hard to separate those two things. It's kind of like if you and an ex shared a certain interest in something and then after the breakup, you can't even bear to look at it anymore. Could you imagine the pain Touma must feel playing the piano sometimes? That's just so sad. It had been roughly 2 years since the pianist Youko Touma had moved her base of activity to Europe. For a pianist, operating in the place that was best known for its music was inevitable, and her daughter, Kazusa, certainly wasn't going to object to such a decisive move on her mother's part. In fact, she was proud of her mother for taking on the world in such a way. But Youko Touma did not sell off the home where she'd been living in Japan before jetting off to a new world. And it wasn't so she would have somewhere to stay instead of a hotel when she came back to visit Japan. It was so her daughter could continue living there. In other words, it was a measure taken in order to leave her daughter behind, instead of taking her along with her. She told me taking me with her would be pointless. That was the word she used. God. I really, really dislike Kazusa's mom. And I know that's obvious at this point, but a lot of people are like justifying it. And I'm like, I don't understand it. I will never, ever, ever forgive her. How could you do that to a child? As she lay back on her pillow, muttering that maybe she had been abandoned for the lack of talent, Touma's eyes seemed to be looking at something very far away. I'd been playing the piano for more than 10 years at that point. Of course, I didn't hate the piano or music itself, but the fact that I had been able to keep going for that long was probably because I had Youko Touma around, I think. My nearest goal, the person who understood my piano playing the most, that was Youko Touma to me. Lame as it might sound, but I was barely anything to her. When she used that word, pointless, I realized that. How can you call your daughter pointless? God, I hate it. I really hate it. God, how much of a shock must that have been? The reality of the person who had always been with her, always encouraged her heart, just dropping her and leaving. And the moment I realized it, everything had become ridiculous to me. Everything I'd done, everything about the life I'd lived. I thought I might be able to understand that just a little bit better than most people. My father, scary but reliable, had disappeared. My mother, who had been kind and cheerful, became more distant than any stranger. My family having disappeared, I became desperate to protect my own heart. But I think what made things work out for me was that the Kitahara family had been slow in its decay. It took time for it to sink all the way into the swamp, which spread out the damage a little. But Touma had had this reality slammed into her without warning. What must it have felt like for her, at the age of 15, suddenly having this knowledge dropped on her? This had been the one person Touma had seen as something special, when she couldn't care less about other people otherwise. So I wanted to throw all this stuff away, including the music department. Right at the beginning, I played in a competition, out of habit, but after that I quit. My classmates and teachers all just saw me as Youko Touma's daughter, and I hated them for that. I barely went to school at all. When I found out at the end of my second year that I could move over into the general course, well, I didn't really care, but figured I could graduate at least. I mean, she still tried to care about her own livelihood a little, but being as depressed and as empty as she is, you can hardly blame her. Of course, then she found this really annoying class rep, she added and forced a laugh, but her eyes were staring into empty space. Maybe she left me behind because she thought it was best for me, or something, but I don't really know about that. Don't know about that because she never said it. She didn't leave her behind saying, "This is for your own good. It'd be hard to learn a new language and switch mid-year." No, she said it would be pointless. How cruel. How super, super cruel. That's right. There was no knowing the truth. Touma didn't know, which meant I couldn't possibly know either. I didn't know Youko Touma to begin with, and I hadn't heard her side of the story. But I don't know. Nothing about it sat right with me. I didn't remotely like it. That's all. But there was one thing I did know. Something that caused Touma's pain and her sadness. Of that something, I was absolutely sure. So I told her, Touma, you seem like something really incredible, but you're actually a very normal person. Huh? What's that mean? Aww. This doesn't come off as a really nice thing to say, but to someone like Touma, it is a really nice thing to say. He sees through the genius daughter of a pianist, and he sees her as a normal person, and he's choosing to be here with her, despite thinking she's normal. That's what's beautiful about this. As I broke through the atmosphere of the room with a deliberately bright tone, Touma knit her eyebrows. I mean, your piano playing is incredible. Your mother is famous, and there's a lot that's impressive about you. But what I'm saying is, you've been worrying and brooding over a simple mother-daughter conflict. That's normal. Kitara. Anger was starting to come into Touma's eyes, and I continued before it could. Which means that you can think of it as something normal. Think of what? Even if this is something that's been causing you a lot of pain, from anyone else's point of view, it's normal. You should think of it that way. It'll be a lot easier on you. And that's how I managed to keep myself together. I don't really love this piece of advice. It's kind of like if someone has depression and someone says, just think of it as the new normal. It's normal for you. You'll feel better. That's kind of minimalizing the problem. What happened is not normal, and she shouldn't normalize it. Because that's how cycles of abuse happens. What if Touma has a daughter and ends up thinking it's normal and abandoning her? I think take that advice very cautiously, dear readers. It seemed that Touma had remembered what I'd told her about my family. And for what it's worth, I need you, at least. Touma opened her eyes just a bit wider at this. I don't mean that in a weird way. I don't think there's any way you can help worrying about what your mother thinks of you. But I don't want you to think that's everything. This is good advice. Her mother's opinion of her is not everything. Other people's opinions matter too. Her own opinion of herself matters too. Why? Because she had us. You, Kazusa Touma, are an indispensable member of the Light Music Club. We want to play the show with you, together. Have you been enjoying the past 3 weeks? I have. I was really happy to have you there while I practiced. Don't you think that living life is better if you enjoy yourself? Come on. Let's kick this cold and have a blast on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it enormously. Kitara. No? Jesus, you're just selfish. As bluntly as she spoke, something in Touma's face, maybe I was just imagining it, looked a tiny bit happy. Just a bit. You're mentioning this now? I think you already knew I was. Yeah, considering you just forced me to play the saxophone. I'm looking forward to that too, so I need you to sleep now, so we can both enjoy ourselves on Saturday. Okay. Her head still on the pillow, Touma gave a small nod. And if your fever does go down, and there's any little bit of extra time left, I took a deep breath. Let's do the song, the one in the notebook. It's an original, after all. Oh, it's an original song. You better get that guitar solo into shape then. I'm going to get better, which means you're the only problem we have left. Yes, I'll do it. I want this third song to happen too. It seems like a good one. It doesn't seem. It is. I did pretty well, if you ask me. Though there was no saving the lyrics, she added, smiling with a bit of contempt. She really was a better person than she let on. All right, I'm going to sleep. Play as much as you need. Okay, good night. For real this time. Right. After confirming that Touma had shut her eyes, I picked up the guitar. Setting the volume to almost 0, I played the same phrases over and over, ironing out my mistakes. I would play it right so I could tell her, "Look, Touma, I was able to do this thanks to your help." And for that song. Hey. Huh? What? After the show's over, are you gonna go out with Ogiso? Huh? The sound of the guitar was covering it up, but I thought I'd just heard her say something kind of strange. Touma? Hey. Good night. Oh my God. That's a very important question. I hope he thinks deeply about it. I wanted to hear Touma breathing quietly, delicately in her sleep. So for just a moment, I stopped my practicing. It would probably be the next day by the time Touma woke up. The festival was pressing closely in, and my fingers, the guitar solo in Sound of Destiny. Man, oh man. The novel does a very, very, very good job of showing just how close he's getting with both Setsuna and Kazusa. Every chapter, it's like, oh, he's so good with Setsuna, this is so perfect. And then the next chapter, oh, he's so good with Kazusa. They do a really good job with this. Very, very well done. So, continuing on, this is WA2 Light Novel, Volume 1, Session 20. One day until the show. Setsuna's Peace. Friday, the day before the show. 8 o'clock in the morning. At last, the first day of the school festival had arrived. The halls were in chaos, crowded with students rushing around to make their final preparations. The number you have dialed cannot currently be reached. She had lost track of how many times she had heard this voice since yesterday. He still wasn't picking up. In a corner of the hallway, Setsuna closed her phone, half in a daze. The fear she felt yesterday had been immense. She had managed to shut down a desire to stop by the Touma house, spent a sleepless night, and still she hadn't heard from him. How do you just forget to message your bandmate for like 2 days? I don't know. I'm pretty forgetful, but like seriously? Immediately after you promised her? And it's so close to the big show, you'd think everyone would be in close contact, but nope, apparently not. The housekeepers answering the phone had been the first and last time. Since then, she had called the Touma's home phone again, and even Kazusa's cell, but neither had borne any fruit. Why wasn't he telling her anything? Tomorrow was the big day. If tomorrow arrived without anything changing, what on earth was she supposed to do up on that stage all by herself? I don't want that, Haruki-kun. She trusted him. But... Tears suddenly threatened to spill out of her eyes, but she desperately held them back. Oh, hey, there you are, Setsuna. Io. Her friend came running over, stopped in front of her, and sighed. You need to get into your costume. I'll help you get changed. What? There's still an hour before we start. Can't we wait a little? Nope. We gotta get everything done now that we can. The closer we get to opening time, the more stuff we're going to have flying at us. The look on Io's face as she urged Setsuna was, indeed, restless. Io had been strangely enthusiastic in the preparations for this exhibition, ever since it had been determined that Taisho-era Hostess Cafe would be the theme. Still, Setsuna attempted to object. I'm glad she has a friend in Io. I wish she would kind of tell her what's going on. I already said no several times. Come on, we let you get out of doing the preparations. You at least have to step in for this much. And, if we do this tea house without you ever showing your face, the whole school is gonna boo Class 3A. Look, there's already a line. I guess they heard that your shift was gonna be this morning. Why can't you be a hostess? No thanks. Not my style. Aww. But Io is so cute. She would look adorable. All of the girls were scheduled to dress as waitresses at some point or another, except Io, who for some reason was purely in charge of food preparation. But Setsuna was well aware that her lively sociability made her quite popular with the guys. Takeya told me about the light music club. I get why you're worried, but you shouldn't let it eat you too much. Io put her hand on Setsuna's shoulder, suggesting that today would be a good mental break for her. Sure. She smiled weakly at her friend's show of concern. Look, I always get super tense and nervous the day before a tournament too. But on the day of, everything always comes together, and nothing else matters. Comes together, but Io, if I'm alone... Well, yeah, if you were alone, that could definitely be kind of tough, but you believe that that won't happen, right? Yes. Certainly hope so. The problem here, though, is Io is just thinking about the stage fright. Io is not understanding the panic and terror Setsuna has about being left behind and being left out of the trio. That's where the other half of this anxiety is coming from. Just as Io said, she believed. Kazusa would recover. They would all perform. The three of them would be able to smile and laugh together. But why doesn't he call me? I'm waiting. I'm trusting in him. Our performance is tomorrow. Why? This unintended bit of venting was quiet enough that it only reached Io's ears. Setsuna, you... She felt like she might start crying at any moment, but clenched her fists to let the impulse pass. Hey, let's go, Setsuna. You're a hostess today. Make sure to turn on that retro show of charm, eh? Our sales today depend on you. Io. Io's bright, cheery laugh gave Setsuna just a bit of relief. I thought it was Taisho, not Showa. Oh, right. Okay. Try saying this. Oh my, Mr. Student, it's so lovely to see you again today. I have to be that exact about it? Obviously, the guys will weep with joy. This doesn't translate that well in English. When you walk into a maid cafe or something of the like, they usually say something in Japanese like, "Welcome home, master." And it's just this really cute, adorable thing to say. And it also implies that they're coming home after a day of hard work, like repeatedly coming home and they've been waiting for you. And that's kind of what they're trying to imitate, but again, it doesn't translate super well into English. It's very embarrassing to have to say, too. The two of them headed toward their class, a bit of strain in their smiles. Of course, thoughts of the show, and of him, weren't going to vanish from her head. So when Io muttered, "Come on, Haruki," to herself, all she did was pretend not to hear. Oh, man. Haruki, get your stuff together. Seriously. Well, let's see what he's up to. Haruki's piece. It hit me like a truck at 8:15 that morning, as I was waiting on the platform at Iwazucho Station. My phone is dead. Tracing back, the last time I had used it was when I asked Setsuna how to make rice porridge, which meant that I hadn't looked at my phone for almost a day and a half in total. There was a lot going on, and I guess I was just focusing that hard on my practicing. Nevertheless, it had been extremely careless of me. But when it really got through to me was when I found Takea, who had apparently been waiting for me at the school gate since he got there. "Haruki, why wasn't your phone on yesterday?" "Sorry, the battery was dead." "And you just didn't notice? You didn't make any attempt to contact anyone?" "Sorry, I literally just realized it. I mean it, I'm sorry." "I'm not the one who needs the apologies, idiot. Why the hell didn't you call Setsuna-chan?" "Takea?" His face looked unusually serious. "God. Look, knowing you, I'm sure you were doing everything you could to look after Touma. I get that. But Setsuna-chan's been worrying about you this whole time. At rehearsal yesterday?" Oh yeah, the big R word, rehearsal. Rehearsal? Did something happen? We couldn't do anything. Setsuna-chan couldn't do anything. As we headed for the school building, this information from Takea left me at a loss for words. She hadn't sung at all, just stood trembling on the stage. No, Setsuna. She was completely pale. I've never seen Setsuna-chan looking like that. I guess she suddenly realized how different being on stage in front of loads of other people was going to be from practicing with her friends. All she did was stand there and shake. And not just because of the stage fright, but because Haruki and Kazusa and thinking about the two of them off together is super scary to her. "But it was just a rehearsal," I started to say, and then I stopped. Setsuna had been all alone at that rehearsal. She wasn't the kind who liked the spotlight in the first place, and she had been pushed up onto that stage by herself, without me or Touma, unable to get in touch while she was racked with anxiety. To Setsuna, that must have felt like nothing less than being completely deserted. I'm so stupid. You're just realizing that now? What the hell do you expect to do tomorrow? Setsuna-chan's dealing with what she's dealing with, and what, is Touma all better now? Can you play the Sound of Destiny guitar solo yet? It'll work out. Setsuna, Touma, everything. Because all of it was my responsibility. Well, it's time to start being responsible. Just because you're responsible for 3 things doesn't mean you can put off one and focus on the other 2. No, you need to be responsible for all 3 things, even if it means focusing less on each thing. It'll work out, huh? Well, I guess all I can do is club Chief's weight. I'm counting on you, man. Seriously. I nodded. I had made it this far. I would make this show happen. I would make it work. Hey, also, were you just calling Setsuna-chan? Huh? Ogiso. Bull, I already caught you anyway. I don't think she would just suddenly decide to start calling you Haruki-kun for fun. No, hang on, it's not like that. Why do you have to keep it a secret? You're becoming closer friends. Don't lie to your friends suddenly. He literally is trying to lie and call her Ogiso. Stop it. He waved a dismissive hand. On some level, I'd known that I wouldn't be able to keep it hidden forever, but I don't care what it's like. This isn't like me calling her Setsuna-chan, right? Be more careful. Yeah, I know. Takea's picture of the situation wasn't quite right, but whatever. The fact was that Touma and I were both something special to Setsuna. So Hey, Takea stopped me as I continued walking. Where are you going? Class E is back there. I don't really have any business with my class. That's a hell of a thing for the class rep to say. Leave me alone, it's just this once. Whoa, what's going on there? For some reason, there was a huge throng of people in the hallway near my destination. Looking closer, they seemed to be forming a line. Class A. What else? They're doing a Thai show hostess cafe. People lining up before it's even open? Wow. Why are there that many people, though? The students standing in line definitely numbered more than 20 or 30. Well, word got out Setsuna-chan's only shift was this morning. Huh? Wait, you mean all of these guys are here for Setsuna? Obviously. Look, I've been meaning to say this for a while, but I think you underestimate that girl. That Miss Hojo High title isn't just for show. I wasn't underestimating her. After spending most of the past month with her, I knew her appeal better than anyone. How kind she was, how much she loved singing, how much she laughed and cared about her friends, but none of these guys knew that. And yet, she had managed to draw them all here. Haruki, come on. You gotta realize that she's a catch, and you got to treat her like one, or you should have drawn the line way before you promised to be with her forever. But we will stop off there for today, so thank you so much for being here with me on this episode of White Album 2's light novel reading, and I'll be back to you with more content shortly. So until then, I hope you take care. See you!